Hey guys, my name is Jack Shiner. I am the host for Jack of the Dead. The reason I started this project, when I was a young boy, about 4 years old, I stopped breathing and I passed on to the other side. For whatever reason, I came back, and from basically that point on, I started seeing things that no 4-year-old should ever have to see. I was scared to sleep because every time I would go to sleep, I would see horrific things. The number of just creatures that I saw be chasing me, trying to eat me, and it's like, oh my God, seriously. Then I started having dreams of things that I did in another life. Every night I would wake up and I would remember the dreams, and I could still tell you those dreams today. I could smell, taste, I could feel, I could hear everything around me, and it was like I was in a movie. I started telling my brothers and my mother what was going on, and they all laughed at me. I had a dream that I was a cavalry soldier over and over and over and over. The same dream almost every single night. I was off my mount. I was next to a creek, and the water was smooth as glass. I could hear the birds, and I could smell the earth and the vegetation around me. And then I started feeling and hearing a rumble, and then the water started doing this, and then pretty soon it got all just distorted, choppy, and then I see horses coming over the bank. I got shot right here, and it was about 30 years before I could wear glasses, metal glasses, without having a pain right here. Whatever metal touched this, I could wear glasses as long as it didn't touch right here. But if it did, I would have like a pain, like somebody hit me with a hammer right here. I was 4 or 5 years old. I didn't know why I was having that dream. But I would have dreams that I would, wake up and I would be able to tell, and I'm not proud of this, I would be able to tell how many Indians I had killed. And my brother would always ask me when I wake up, how many Indians you kill last night? And I would tell him. I was like, why? I mean, I had no idea what the heck I was talking about. But that dream was there telling me that's what I had been in a previous life. And then I started seeing other things that was bizarre. I'd wake up floating above my bed, looking down at myself, stuff like that. I tried to tell people what was going on, and they would get angry, man. They'd go like, "You're a freak, man, get away from me." I lost all of the friends that I ever told that to, or the other things that I had experienced. So it was kind of a lonely existence for me growing up. I really couldn't talk to anybody about any of the things that I was experiencing because it scared the crap out of people, and they didn't want to be around anybody that, was possessed or talking to the dead or whatever they thought at the time. I mean, I was a little kid, but I could see, smell, hear things that they couldn't. As I grew up a little bit more, I got into middle school, I started having dreams of things to come. I didn't know why I was having dreams of places that I've never been before or people I've never met before, but I knew that there was some importance to it because I would remember them when I woke up. Over the years, I talked to people about what they remember of their dreams, and about 85% of the people that I talked to said when they wake up they don't remember their dreams at all. About 10% of the people that I talked to told me that they dreamed in full color, but they couldn't smell, they couldn't taste, they would just see vivid colors and so on. They weren't like they were actually in the dream or in a movie, because that's basically what my dreams were like, is I was actually in a movie. Not a good movie, but I was in the movie nonetheless. I had horrific dreams throughout my whole life. My first movie that I ever watched in color was The Birds. So I was a horror fanatic, man. I would stay up and I would watch horror films with my mom and my brothers. But I never had nightmares about those particular movies. It was always something else, something that was lurking behind me, around me, trying to communicate with me. Now, some of the individuals that were trying to communicate with me were not human. Some of them were. They were always there, every single night. When I got into my late teens, I started having these premonitions non-stop. Every single night I had premonitions of things that were happening around the world, only to wake up, see the news, and there that dream was. Like a bus going off a cliff and killing everybody, a plane crash, the Challenger disaster, and then the Columbia disaster. I dreamt both of them blowing up. Earthquakes, you name it. I mean, I had dreams of all kinds of stuff. My brothers, doing stupid stuff, and I would try and warn them, but nobody listened. So I'm like going, okay, what am I gonna do? Just do the best I can and live with it, but I stopped telling people. I dreamt my mother was sick before she even knew she was sick. I called her up and I asked her how she was doing. Then like 6 months later, she was diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer. It's like one of those things that you can't tell people because then they don't want to hear it. My mother went so far as smacked the crap out of me when I was in the 6th grade because I told her about dreams that were going to happen. For example, the last time I ever told anybody about dreams that I was having. Right after I graduated the 6th grade, I was like 12 years old, I had a series of dreams. I started having a dream that my mother was going to get a phone call from a long-lost boyfriend that she had in high school, and he asked her to marry him and then move back to his hometown. After 7 days of having this dream every single night, it went away, and I didn't dream for 2 weeks. Not a peep, nothing, just slept. So I told my mother that I had a dream that she was going to have a boyfriend call, ask to marry him, then move back to his town. And she told me that she has no plans to get married again. She has no idea who would have even called to ask to marry her, and she had no plans on moving anywhere. I'm like going, okay, whew. So after 2 weeks, after telling her the dream, I had another dream that she said yes. We put everything we owned in a U-Haul trailer, started going down the road. We came up to a bridge with a sign says, "Bridge out." And my mother, she stops to look at the sign, and she starts to go, and I'm like, Mom, the bridge is out. And I'm grabbing a hold of this sign, thinking that I can hold her from going, but no. We keep going, and then we get in the middle of the bridge, and the bridge is no longer there, so we right into the river. Here I'm in the river trying to swim. 7 days. So I told my mom again. She said yes, we're moving, and then we get in a wreck on the trip. And she goes, "They're just dreams. That's all they are, it's just dreams. We're not going anywhere. Stop worrying." I'm like going, "Mom, these are not dreams." She goes, "That's all they are. Dreams don't come true." I'm like going, okay, they do. After 2 more weeks, I had another dream that we got to this person's home. He was nice for a couple weeks. Then he started drinking really, really heavy. And then he tried to kill us. Now I'm freaked because I had these dreams, I mean absolutely vivid dreams, for a week each, and then they were gone. And now I go to my mom and I go, "Mom, I had another dream that this time when we get to his house, he's nice for a couple weeks and he starts drinking really heavy and then he tries to kill us." And she got mad as hell. She goes, "I'm tired of hearing these dreams of yours. Stop talking about them. They're just dreams. Nothing's going to happen. Dreams don't come true. Stop it. I'm like going, it's not like I'm trying to have these dreams, Mom. I remind you guys, I'm 12 years old and I'm like 4'9" and about 80 pounds. I'm just a little guy, right? And I don't know why I'm having these dreams. I'm freaking out because nobody will listen to me. After about 3 weeks, my mom gets a phone call from her first boyfriend in high school. He asked my mother to marry him and move back to Wichita, Kansas, where he has a house. My mom says yes. A month later, we had packed everything we owned into a U-Haul trailer, started going down the road. We got to Wyoming. We come up over this hill, like the top of the bridge. We get down on this hill, and super high winds hit the side of our trailer. Flip the trailer over on its side, picking the car up on 2 wheels. I kid you not, we are going down the road like this on 2 wheels with the trailer behind us. And then my mom's going like this, and then it comes down and it goes up on the other side on 2 wheels, and then it comes down and goes back up on the other 2 wheels, and it comes down, and then the trailer flipped up over and landed on the trunk of our car and stopped us from going over the edge. The edge was about 30 feet straight down on both sides. That's the only thing that kept us from plummeting to our death, was the trailer landed upside down on the back of the car. The people that lived about a mile down the road, they heard the sound, called the state patrol. State patrol comes. We're okay, but the cars get big old huge dent in it. The trailer's upside down, and state patrol, he goes back to the very beginning of it, you know, with his little wheel, and he's comes back and he says, I can't believe you were actually up on 2 wheels for over 300 feet. You could see where the rims had dug into the asphalt. That was a trip. That was one scary minute, let me tell you. That's about all it took, was not even a minute, for real. So we had to have a tow truck come flip the trailer over, put it up on its lift, take it to the next town. I can't remember what the town was. And then we got our crap out of that U-Haul, put it in a different U-Haul, and then we continued on our way. We get to Wichita, Kansas, which the guy seemed really nice for, you know, a week or so. Maybe 2-3 weeks into the trip with him, he starts drinking. And I'm not talking a little bit. I mean, he would have a bottle on the table, and he'd just drink it right out of the bottle. And my mom didn't like drinking at all. My dad had drank and abused her when he was married to her. So she was looking for a way out. And then one day, or I should say one evening, he's really drunk. I mean, wasted drunk. And he had a beautiful kitchen table. I can't remember, maybe black walnut or something like that. I mean, it was a beautiful table. The nicest table I had ever sat at. And I'm sitting across from him, and my brother's, the one that's just a little older than me, was sitting to the right, and my older brother was laying on the couch. And he pulls out a knife. I'm talking a big ass knife. And he's looking right into my eyes, and he's stabbing his frickin' table over and over and over, taking chunks out of his table. Man, what a waste of a table, right? That's what I'm thinking. And then I realized this guy, he's gone over the edge, and all of my dreams flashed back, and I'm like going, this guy is going to kill us. And just as he's starting to lunge forward, my older brother runs up and wham, hits this guy right upside his head with a big ass lamp, just shatters it over his head. And then my mother and we all run out the door, and we all get in the car, and she didn't lock the door or roll the window up. I'm telling her, lock the door, he's coming, roll the window up. And she's trying to get the thing started, and didn't reverse. Man, I'm not kidding you. That dude was at the window trying to grab my mom. I'm pulling her back, and then he's reaching over at me, and I go, ah! I had sharp teeth too. I tore into that dude, man. He goes, "You bit me," and I'm scratching him and just trying to do as much damage to him as I can so he'd let go so we could leave. And then he's trying to grab me, and I tear into him again. I was a savage. I was small, but man, I was fearless. I had no fear when it come to trying to save my mother. My mom finally gets it in reverse, and then he's trying to grab the wheel, and I'm going like this, pulling it away from him, and my mom hits the gas and pulls him away from the car a little bit. And then he reaches in again, and I'm going, "Go, go, go." And she goes, "I can't, I'll run over him." I go, "Run him over." Because she had to back up, she ran him over with the back tire, and then she had to put it in drive, and then he appears at the damn window again, and then it's like she just gunned it, knocked him down, and we kept on going. And then as soon as we get clear, I go, "Mom, I told you this was gonna happen," and she just wailed the shit out of me. It's like, "Don't you ever tell me about one of your dreams again." Instead of saying, "Oh my God, they did come true," she flat ass told me, "Don't you ever tell me about one of your dreams again." And here I was, 12 years old, seeing stuff that no one should have to see. And then I was completely isolated by the person that I loved the most. So over time, I had literally thousands of these dreams. And I started seeing people walking by me that I would turn and there's no one there. I would feel them behind me. I'd feel them hugging me, just like I do right now. I feel them all over me. And then I would walk into a house or a place, even 100 degrees, and I would feel chilled because they were there. They were trying to communicate with me. I'm like going, why is this happening? I mean, I'm freaking hot. And then I walk into this space in this house and it's freezing cold. No explanation. Couldn't talk to anybody to find out what was going on because nobody wanted to talk to me. And then I started hearing voices, and I'm like, oh God, now what? And I mean, I would hear voices, and I'm like going, oh my God, I'm going crazy. And the sounds was like the old radios. Some of you guys are younger, you don't know the old tuner radios. In some of the old movies, you see guys turning the dial or the knob, and the sound was, now the guys that are my age are gonna know, if you go real fast, you'll hear all the different stations going by, and that was the sound that I was hearing. And I was like, why am I hearing these weird sounds going up and down, these different pitches and tones and volumes? And I'm like going, oh man, it's like I can't talk to anybody, so what is it? And I was like, I'm going nuts, is what I was thinking. After decades of living with this phenomenon, I was recovering from a hernia operation that I had just received. And I'm laying in bed with this, literally, I got this ball like this big. It started out, it was about that big. And it had a tube. I mean, it was a long tube, and it went down into my area where the incision was. And so I'm like, I can't really do a whole hell of a lot. And I had a kitten and a new puppy. That was my friends because I was isolated in this place that I was living. And I'm hearing these voices louder than ever. I'm talking, I could actually hear what they're saying for the first time, and I'm like going, what the hell? I got up and I'm looking outside the house. There is no one there. And I'm like going, dude, you have lost it, man. I'm going, there's got to be a reason I'm hearing this. So what I decided I was going to attempt, I didn't know if it would work or not. I went with this ball attached to me. I had a bag. I went, for real, went to Fred Meyer down the road from me, and I got a microphone. This is the microphone right here. Got my laptop out, got my mouse, plugged this sucker in, and I got SoundForge, recording software that I downloaded because I didn't have anything like that on my computer. It was just a basic laptop. Got it all up, and I'm like going, I'm gonna find out if I can capture what's going on around me. So I hit record, and I just laid there quietly. After a minute and a half, because I was really impatient to find out what the hell was going on, if I could capture anything. So I hit stop, went back to the beginning, hit play, and I'm like going, what the frick? I captured voices immediately. Bing, record, I'm hearing voices. I'm like going, no way. This isn't just in my head. They're talking about me. I'm like going, okay. I'm like, I listened to it a couple times. I think I listened to it like 3 times. And I'm like going, so they're talking. I can hear them. This is the sounds that I was hearing. I wonder if I can ask them questions and they'll answer me. So I'm like, I gotta ask them some questions, right? I'm getting pumped now that I actually finding out what the hell's going on around me. I'm like in my mid-40s, and I didn't know any of this crap was going on for sure. I knew stuff was happening, but I didn't know what was really happening going on around me. So I hit record, and I asked a few basic questions. What's your name? Are you a boy? Are you a girl? How old are you? Crap like that. How'd you die? And then, bam, I hit play. And soon as I asked, what's your name? I hear Jessica Gibbons. It's clear as a bell. I'm like going, no way. For real, I'm getting an intelligent response, and then I hear, I'm David. And I'm like going, oh my God, seriously? I got more than one that's telling me their name? And then I hear another one, and then another one. I'm like going, crap, how many people are here? And then when it came to how'd you die, I hear, she killed me. I'm like going, Jessica Gibbons, she says, I shot myself. I'm like going, it went from there to, all right, who the hell are these people and why are they hanging around me? And I asked more questions like, is this a sacred place? Is that why you're here? Or is it you're following me? Jessica says, it's not sacred, it's you. And I'm like going, okay, that's not quite what I was hoping to hear, because I was living on old Indian grounds. Right down the road from where I was staying was a 5,000-year-old hieroglyph from the Indians. The more I asked, the more I wanted to know. After 2-3 hours of doing this, I had to stop and let my brain just wrap around what I had just learned. Not only did I learn that it wasn't in my head, this was really happening, and I could communicate with them. For whatever reason, they were following me. At the time, I didn't know why they were following me. It took a little bit of time to really find out the true purpose of what they were and what they wanted, and that I could communicate with others in different areas that I went. I reached out to other ghost hunters to try and hook up with them and see what we could find out. And I told the others what was going on with me, my life, and then what I had found in a very short period of time, because I'd never done this before. There was the ghost adventures and the ghost hunters on TV, but to me, that wasn't any evidence that I could use to help me figure out what the hell's going on in my life. It was entertaining because, you know, they're all stumbling around in the dark, so I'm going, maybe that's what you got to do. You know, you got to go out there in the middle of the night and get in the cemeteries and, you know, try and talk to the folks on the other side. So that's what I decided I was going to do. My first paranormal investigation was at a little cemetery out of the 1800s, and I went Halloween. I timed it so I would be there for the bewitching hour. I went there during the day to scope it out so I could see where to set up and what to do, where to walk, make sure it was going to be safe. Went and bought a couple different recorders. I got prepared, man. I got a little digital recorder. So, and then I took my 35mm digital camera, so I got a camera here and a camera here, and I got 2 recording devices set on 2 different headstones. And I'm walking around this cemetery, and I was immediately drawn to 2 different places in this cemetery. Actually, 3 different places in this cemetery. One was 2 girls that were born basically a year apart, and then they died almost to the day that they were born on their like 14th birthday. It was tragedy, man. Was really, really tragic. And then there was another one. Her name was Little Nellie. She died when she was 4 years old. And then had a nice little poem on her headstone. And then setting off a little bit further over was the story of Blanche and Lorenzo Perkins. It had a nice marker, said killed by Indians 1863 or something like that. Just a little bit further over there was another headstone that I put my recording device on. Her name was Emma, might have been Perkins. I don't think it was a blood relative, but I think it was the same name. So I was thinking, And then I put the other one a little bit further over, and then the person I was with, he had a digital camera and a digital audio device as well. So we're walking around, and this is right next to the highway. It's probably, I don't know, maybe 100 feet off of the highway. And it was a really quiet night. There was nobody out trick-or-treating because everybody had gone to bed. It was cold, crisp, a little bit of moisture in the air. And the sounds of the traffic going by was really loud. You know, we walk around. It was chilly. It was probably around 30, 32 degrees, somewhere around there. So the moisture in the air was starting to freeze. So it created some nice orb effects in the trees and above the headstones, and it was kind of unique. One of the weirdest things that happened was the gentleman that I was with, he put his audio recorder on top of the little headstone of Little Nellie, and he says, if you want to come out and play, go ahead and just knock the recorder off of the headstone. And maybe 5 seconds after he said that, it went whoosh, it flew right off the headstone. I'm like going, what just happened? That's the first time I ever saw anything being moved by someone on the other side. The other strange anomaly that I had during this particular night was I had a flashlight with brand new batteries. And there was a headstone of, I can't remember his last name. His name was John, and he passed when he was 16 years old. And I'm trying to get where I can read this young man's name, because I could only see John 16 on the headstone, and it was just not a headstone, it was just a little, like a brick sitting in the dirt. And as I'm going down there, my flashlight went out. I'm like going, what the hell, man? A brand new flashlight, brand new batteries, and it went out after, you know, an hour? I shook it and I went like this to see what was going on, and it came on in my face and it about blinded the crap out of me, right? And I'm like, great, now I can't see, right? So I'm like this, and I look down, the flashlight is okay, it's working again. I go like this back over his headstone, and it went out. I'm like going, wait a minute. What the hell is going on? So I moved the flashlight away from his headstone. It came on. I'm like, no way, for real. This is really happening. So I go back over it. The light went out. I go the other way. It came on. Over it, went out. On, off, on, off, on, off, on. I did that for about 3-4 minutes, and then the anomaly stopped. I went over it, and it was fine all the entire time. So I'm like going, okay, that was weird. So I realized that I may not, be a paranormal investigator, but I saw that with a little bit of work, I would be able to go out and capture evidence to show people that there is life after death. These anomalies are truly happening, and I decided I was going to be a paranormal investigator from here on out. That's how dedicated I was to finding out what was really going on and share it with people. After going to multiple places and finding out everywhere I went, I could communicate with the spirits. After about 6 or 7 months of going over these files, and we're talking hundreds and hundreds of hours of listening to these audio tapes, I started hearing the same voices, the same names, no matter where I went. I'm like going, how is that possible that everywhere I go, it's the same names? And Jessica Gibbons, everywhere I went, her name came up. And another name that kept coming up was Blanche. I'm like, oh, Blanche, I know that name from somewhere. And then I hear Lorenzo. And then I started hearing Little Nellie, and I'm like going, wait a minute. That was from the first graveyard that I visited. And then I was at a restaurant because one of the people there, I was doing a story on them, told me that the restaurant was haunted and stuff would be going on while they're closing. So I asked the owner, hey man, can I come in for about 15-20 minutes? Maybe an hour, and try and see what was going on in there. And he goes, what? I go, yeah man, your employees are telling me that when they're there by themselves, stuff's getting knocked off the counter, and they see the calculator would start going, and then water would turn on, and he would look to them and go, really? And they go, oh yeah man, there's stuff. I almost got hit by boxes over here, almost got this. And he goes, I didn't know this was going on. He goes, oh yeah, it goes on all the time. And he's going, wow, really? So he agreed, and I spent the first place alone because of the individual that was supposed to go with me. I go to his house, and he's fighting with his wife, and he's going, I can't go. I got to save my marriage. I'm like going, dude, I decided I'm going to go because I'm a man of my word. I told the guy I was going to be there, and he's there. So I go there, and I'm alone. First time I'm doing anything in the dark by myself, and I'm like going, this is scary as hell. I was truly scared. I'm like going, man, this isn't fun. This isn't what I planned on or envisioned to be out here trying to find out what's going on, right? I'm like tripping. I go through this place, and the energy in this building is freaking enormous. I mean, you could feel the electric static in the air. I'm not kidding you, man. Every hair of my fiber was tingling. And I'm like, holy crap, man. I'm like chilled to the bone. So I'm going in there. I put a recording device down by where the calculator was, and I had my crappy digital camera and my 35mm Canon digital camera. I'm walking through this place, and I'm asking questions, trying to find out who's there, why they're there. After about 15 minutes, literally, they pushed me out the door. The energy was so strong that it just literally pushed me through the back of the restaurant right to the door and right out the door. I'm like going, it's time for me to go. As I'm walking around, I see him. He goes, well, that didn't take very long. And I go, man, this place is seriously strong. And He goes, really? I go, oh yeah, they pushed me right out the door, man. And when I got to my car and I looked back into the dark restaurant, I literally expected to see 10, 15 people looking through the window at me. I could not get out of there fast enough. And it's like, holy crap. And at that time, I had a radio that you could actually plug in the audio devices and then plug into your stereo with a little plug. I'm like, oh man, I gotta listen to this crap. So as I'm going home, I could hear stuff, but because I was just playing it, I couldn't really make out what they were saying. As I'm going over this, I asked, how'd you die? And I hear, killed by Indians. And then I hear another one, drowned in the river. And then I hear another one, Indian wars. And I'm like going, this sounds awful familiar. And then, who's your name? And I hear Blanche. And then I hear Blanche Perkins. And I'm like, oh man, I know this name from somewhere. But it had been like 6 months. So, I mean, I wasn't really focused on one person or another at this point. I had just spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours listening to all of these audio files. At this point, I didn't really grasp the full measure of how I was going to be able to communicate with the folks on the other side. No matter where I went, some of the people followed me and everybody wanted to talk. I started hearing he writes it down and then he listens. I'm like going, man, these guys are really watching me. And then I would hear him, he wears a cross, which I do, I wear a cross. And then they would be saying, teach him. And I'm like, teach me what? He can help us. He's special. Stuff like that. I'm like going, why am I special? And then you would hear he's gifted. Stuff like that. I'm like going, I don't consider myself to be gifted. I almost believed I was cursed, to be honest with you. I started really paying attention to the few that kept telling me their names no matter where I went. That was Jessica Gibbons, Blanche Perkins, and then David. And then I started hearing Russell and, a bunch of other people. And then I started asking, okay, who are these people? I went back to the peppermint stick again. This time there was a gal there and she took a picture as I'm leaning over and captured someone standing behind me. When I looked at these pictures, I'm going, okay, there is some stuff going on in this place. And because I was a travel writer for a long time, and I went all across the country to historic places, and I actually captured entities in my pictures at some of the historic places that I went to. And I had seen stuff in my pictures and I immediately saw these entities and I'm like going, okay, we captured something here. I was able to capture another entity at another house I went to walking by me with that crappy little digital recorder. So I was like, okay man, this is something that we can do. We can actually, capture these and show people that this is real. This is fact. This is no longer maybe I can do this. I can do this. I can capture them. I can communicate with them. They will respond to me. So I started asking who Blanche Perkins was. She told me that we met not long ago. And I'm like, we did? And she goes, yes. I told you I was looking for a new husband, and because you didn't say no, you're stuck with me. Basically, I asked her, okay, what was her full name? And she told me her name was Blanche Perkins. And I started dawning on me, okay, killed by Indians, Indian wars. And I go, okay, how many Indians killed you? She told me 6. So she told me that she was on her way over to stay with family to give birth of their first child. And they had stopped to rest the horses and they took the saddles off, which I didn't really understand why, but I wasn't around in the 1800s to ride a horse that far, so maybe that was common. What had happened, these Indians that came across the Blanche Perkins, they were basically on the reservation and a cavalry boat was going down the river and they saw a bunch of young Indians and they opened up on them with a Gatling gun. They injured a couple of them, but 6 of them escaped. I'm sure they were really pissed when they came across the Perkins. They killed Alonzo right on the spot. Blanche had got on her horse, took off. Apparently she was a really good rider, and she tried to jump this little ravine, but her horse couldn't make it and they crashed. And then the Indians caught up to her and shot her, put some sagebrush over them and left. The family of the two were very prominent in this area, so they knew they were overdue. So they got a search party and they started heading towards where they were coming from, and came across their corpses covered. So they came across the Indians. This is where the story gets really weird. I asked Blanche what happened to the Indians that killed her and her husband, and she told me that two of them had been shot, one of them hung himself, and then the others were hung. I'm like going, I didn't believe that an Indian back then would kill himself, so I was suspect. But I decided I was going to really dig into this because I wanted to find out if this was real. Because I mean, the details that Blanche gave me were incredible. It didn't take me very long. I went to the library, I went to the museum, I searched online. The story of Lorenzo and Blanche Perkins is online. You can look it up for yourselves. I'm not making this up. They were coming to this area. The Indians did kill them. They captured most of the Indians, and then they had the Indians in jail. They escaped jail, believe it or not. And as they were running down the street, they were shot. Apparently, the night or right before the Indians were going to be hung, one of them killed himself, and the others were hung in the street. That was the first time I was able to actually find out who they were, how they died, and was able to back it up. Another one that got me at the same time, because there was two of them, they had been killed by Indians in the Indian Wars and so on. And I'm thinking, okay, well, the Blanche Perkins really had nothing to do with the Indian Wars. So there had to been two different people talking. I started doing research on Indian Wars in my area, and there wasn't real no Indian Wars. What had happened is there was an individual that was a Indian agent that was really treating the Indians bad. I mean, he was like selling them bad meat and all kinds of stuff. This guy was like the epitome of the Indian bureaucrat that was just treating the Indians like crap. What happened is there was a Indian party that came across this guy going to Oregon on business or bringing stuff or getting ready to go get stuff. I can't remember if he was going to Oregon or coming back. But anyway, they found him and they killed him. When it came out that a band of Indians had killed this Indian agent, they sent the cavalry over from Oregon to put the Indians down. So when they got to this area, now there's a plaque right there. It's Two Buttes Indian Wars. You can look it up. They came across the Indians, and so what happened is the children and the squaws, they bolted across the river, and all the braves got the cavalry soldiers to chase them up the hill so the ladies and the children can get away. Well, two of them bolted off across the river to, take vengeance upon the women and children. And they fell out their horses and drowned in the river. Killed by Indians, drowned in the river, Indian Wars. And I'm like going, okay, this is their story. I'm getting to the point now where I'm starting to be able to pull them forward so I can actually communicate with them. Every single one of them has a different pitch and a different tone. They may sound similar, but they're all identifiable. My ears started getting to a point where I could actually hear the different people and understand how many people were actually trying to speak to me at one time. Didn't matter where I went, I was able to capture voices. After going to a bunch of places with other investigators, I found that no matter who they were there just to have a party. They weren't really truly there to find out what was going on. The only way that you can really truly find out what is going on is by listening. Ask a question, shut up. You don't ask a question and then immediately ask another question. They don't work that way. So when you speak, and like a second or 2 seconds later you ask another question, they're trying to answer you, but you talk right over them. You can't hear them. I decided to go by myself and do this stuff. I started taking the digital recorder everywhere I went. And I mean everywhere I went. The shower, it's sitting right there. On the toilet, sitting right there. I wanted to find out if they could go into church, because I was always under the impression that the dead couldn't go into a church because it's holy ground. Not so. No matter where you go, there they are. I got real evidence of what was going on. It is a little bit scary the first time you're talking to a demon or Lucifer and you ask him, are you really Lucifer the devil? And that person says yes. The first time that happened to me, I go, you're really the devil, Lucifer? And he goes, yes. And I asked him, I thought you didn't want man to know you exist. And he goes, oh, you're a smart one, aren't you? And then he says, I'm going to take your soul. And I go, you can't take my soul. It doesn't belong to me. And he goes, I'm going to get your soul. And I go, well, then you take it up with God. That's who you're going to have to take the soul from. That pissed him off and he left. By doing the paranormal investigations, or seances is basically what I do. I now use PreSonus because you can filter it out pretty doggone good. It's still, there's a lot of white noise and you have to turn it up. So some of the people, they complain, you know, why is it so loud? It's got to be loud because some of them whisper. You'll hear them right up close to the microphone going, my name is Jacob. Because they don't want other people to hear them talking to you. What I have found works best for me is I take my program and I hit record and I don't say anything. I let it go for about 2 minutes. After I do that, I'll just listen to it a couple times so I can see what spirits are trying to communicate, or the ones that are just hanging out. Spirit that's here today, 5 minutes from now, he'll leave. And they do. They come and go, because we have no control over them. You can't even make them leave your house, okay? All the holy water in the world is not going to make a spirit leave your house if he doesn't want to leave. And if you piss them off, guess what they're going to do? They're going to hang around. They're going to torment you. Do not judge them. Do not make fun of them. Do not laugh at them. Who likes that now while you're alive? Nobody. They're the same. They're just on the other side. These were people. You're not their judge. Only one person judged them, and that was Jesus Christ. Okay? So if you're going to do this as a hobby, or if you're going to go and do it as a career, know two things. One, you have no power over them. Two, they have no power over you unless you give your power to them. And that's just you surrendering to them. Okay? That's really not giving them the power to make you do anything. It's the power that you are submitting, okay? That means you're weak. Weak here and here. Don't do this if that's the type of personality that you are, because it's not that they're going to possess you. It's just that you are going to allow yourself to believe that you're being controlled by someone else or something else. And then you can potentially harm yourself or harm somebody else. Fear is what they thrive on. And they will try and scare the crap out of you. So be ready for that. I've had them tell me that I'm standing right behind you with a big butcher knife. I'm going to slit your throat. Or I'm going to find you and I'm burn your house down. Do not let them scare you. Okay? That's all they can do is scare you. They can't come up, reach through the computer and, stab you. Or hit you in the head or pull you through the computer into the other side. They can't do that. After struggling most of my life to find out what was going on around me, spending over a decade of really focusing in on what was truly going on around me, I realized there had to be a reason for growing up the way I did. The visions, seeing spirits walking by me. I remember when I was about 16 years old, I think it was 15, 16, I had stayed up for 3 days, and then I decided, hey, you know what, I'm up 3 days, I might as well stay up for another day, stay up for 4 days, because I've never been up 4 days straight. Still see the apartment that my brother had and his girlfriend. She ended up overdosing and dying not long after, and my mother was there. I'm looking around, I'm like going, man, oh man, your house is full of dead people, man. This is the first time I saw dead people. And they go, what kind of drugs are you on, man? I'm like, nah, I'm not on any drugs, man. I'm like, God, did you see all these dead people in your house? And they're going, that's it. You're going to the emergency room right now. We're going to pump your stomach. I still remember that. It's like, holy crap, man. There had to be a reason for all of these weird things that had happened to me. After sitting down and doing a lot of soul searching, I realized that maybe the good Lord has chosen me to be a messenger for him, okay? That's the only thing I can explain. I decided I was going to really try and seek out the proof that you would need to really believe that there is life after death. You will have to make up your own mind whether to believe it or not.